Yeah. Whose mic is on? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. Director McMillan, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Hands of your right heart and repeat after me. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible,
with
liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Director Pacala?
Yes.
Director McMillan?
Yes.
Director Robert?
Yep.
Director Quady?
Here.
Director Avila?
Thank you. One minute, please.
You want the public comment language? Oh. Sorry. Right in front of you. I didn't print it out because you asked to.
Hey, I would like to open today's meeting in memory of Grant Burren, Grant Thomas Burren. Grant passed away April 17, 2025 at the age of 67. Grant was full of energy and adventure. Growing up in Venice Beach and retiring at the beach in Ventura, Grant loved the ocean and was a prolific surfer. He was a proud father to Maggie and Jake, husband to Kelly, who was also his high school sweetheart, and a beloved brother, nephew, and friend. He was a proud member of the Surfing Lawyers Association and was enjoying retirement with his wife, recently returning from a trip to Italy. Grant was a very proud veteran of the Coast Guard, where he served in Alameda, California, New Orleans, Owensboro, Kentucky, Hilo, Hawaii, and San Pedro, California. He received a bachelor's in English literature from Loyola Marymount University and a Juris Doctor from the University of West Los Angeles Law School. Grant worked as a claims administrator for the city of Santa Monica before finishing law and being hired at Metropolitan Water District, where he worked for 23 years before his retirement. But Grant liked to stay busy, so he quickly came out of retirement to join the legal team at Cohen and Burge. Finally, Grant joined Calleguas as the manager of human resources and risk management in 2021, where he championed additional policies to ensure employee safety and prioritized employee engagement and recognition before retiring again in January of 2025. Grant will be fondly remembered for his contribution to the district and the community, and he will be missed. Okay, we're going to move on to public comments. This portion of the agenda may be utilized by any member of the public to address the board of directors on any matter within the jurisdiction of the board that does not appear on the agenda and on matters that are on the agenda but are not designated as action items. Depending on the subject matter, the board of directors may be unable to respond at this time or until a specific topic is placed on the agenda at a future Calleguas board meeting. In accordance with the Ralph M. Brown Act, please limit remarks to 3 minutes. We have members of the public.
We have some members of the public online. If anyone online would like to make public comment, please use the raise hand feature. There are no raised hands.
Okay. Item 3, presentations.
None this evening.
Items to be added to the agenda.
No items.
The consent calendar. Has the board had time to, that you would like to pull something?
Well, I did review the minutes. I do have comments and questions on item 5B, C, and D.
5B, C, and D. Okay.
When it's time, I'll be happy to
Okay.
questions.
All right. Okay. Can we move to the minutes? Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes?
I did. I move up, we approve it.
Move approval. Do we have a second?
You can do that one at a time, or you?
I'm gonna approve the minutes first, and then we're gonna review B, C, and D since he has questions.
So do I.
All right,
I'm sorry, who was seconded?
Director McMillan?
Okay. Director Pacala,
Yes.
Director McMillan,
Yes.
Director Robert,
Yes.
Director Quady,
Aye.
Director Avila.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. Okay, item B, receive and affirm the payment register for the district activities from March 2025 to April 23rd, 2025. Okay, Dr.
Thank you, President. On what is it, page number 8 of the report and page 20 of the agenda, there is a check for 70,218. I believe this is.
The Division of Safety of Dam.
Yes. My question is, what type of services does DWR provide?
Well, DWR is the regulatory authority over the dam, so they do an annual inspection. And we're required to pay the fees to
It's
maintain.
just for the inspection only.
I don't know if either Tricia or Omar has anything to add on that, because it kind of is one of those ONMHR thing.
So we're billed based on the number of dikes and dams that we have. They charge us that.
So there's a formula for them based on the size, the dikes, and the charge you bid. Okay, I was just curious. I would think it's going to, does it increase every year, cost of living?
It does. I don't know what the percentage was this year, but I can definitely get that.
Thank you, thank you. On page 20 of the agenda, there's a payment for 2 Ford Escape vehicles totaling $60,000 some dollars. My question is, are these new vehicles for Calleguas fleet? And if they are replacements, how often does Calleguas replace the vehicles?
Yeah, Omar, if you could come to the podium, that way folks online can be sure to hear you.
So those are 2 replacement vehicles, and ideally, we'd like to replace our vehicles at 100,000 or 10 years, but we are a little bit behind. Vehicles are very difficult to get during COVID. We do have vehicles that have exceeded that, so these are replacement vehicles.
So our goal is 10 years and 100,000, did you say?
That is the goal.
Does that metric change in anticipation of the electric vehicle mandate? Are we trying to pad our non-electric vehicles before that?
Right now, we are in the process of applying for a emergency response waiver so that utilities wouldn't have to follow the mandate of CARB. And so far, on the last legislation or the last review, the board provided an 8-0 approval to continue the process to look at the utilities being exempt.
Right, so are we looking at that exemption for all the fleet vehicles to include the vehicles managers drive as well as the trucks?
It would be because it's the larger vehicles that are really taxing that credit that you get for CARB, not the smaller vehicles. So our F-450s, F-550s, those are the ones that are really being targeted, not passenger vehicles.
Sorry, I didn't mean to hijack. Thank you.
No, good questions. This is not a big dollar amount. It's agenda page 26. Report number 14, I believe. There's a $840 for the Regents of the University of California for Quagga. I'm thinking this is just for the monitoring purposes only.
Yeah, I actually can speak to this because I got to yesterday go out on the boat and help with the quagga monitoring.
You did?
Yes, I did.
Good.
It was very exciting. So we have a number of monitoring locations in the lake. As you probably know, quagga mussels were detected in this water project system. And they are an invasive species of concern. So we want to be very vigilant that they don't end up in our lake where they can create all sorts of problems with like incrustations. We have a number of monitoring locations that are buoys out in the lake. And so quarterly, our staff goes out and under each buoy, there's some plates that are basically substrate that we check manually, visually and manually for presence of quaggas, as well as they do a tow net where the water is collected and sent to UCSD's Scripps lab, which has the capability of testing for what are called villagers. The word looks like villagers, but they're called villagers and they are the larvae. So this is the lab cost for testing for the villagers.
Lab cost, not the monitoring. And
No, the actual physical monitoring and sampling is done by our staff. We have a boat on the lake and O&M staff member drives the boat and the regulatory compliance division staff actually takes the samples. Not usually the general manager, but it was cross-training.
Burnt thing.
This is a long-term thing. We've been doing it quarterly for a number of years. I don't recall how many.
Okay. And when does the board get to do cross-training for quad muscle?
We can talk about that later, but I will say the idea of having a committee meeting for the Operations and Organization Committee where they got to observe this process was discussed.
Okay.
Would it be possible to put a designation of repetition for some of these, I guess, repeated costs? So if it's like annual or monthly or something?
Let's talk about that. I don't,
See where on here would be convenient, but
yeah, let's, we'll discuss that with finance and see if that's something that's reasonably doable or what that would take to accomplish.
just because I see subscriptions and I don't know whether they're annual or monthly or um,
Okay, but yeah, we'll see what we can figure out on that.
something to think about.
Yeah, the other question was which UC campus does the actually testing? You said it's Scripps.
Yeah, Scripps is part of the University of California at San Diego, which is, so the check actually goes, or the electronic payment to the regents of the university.
Okay. Moving on to the next agenda, page number 27. Calleguas paid universal imaging system for large capacity paper tray, total of $2,568.64.
Saw that too.
My question is this a new tray? Is this something we are replacing? I don't even know what.
You want me to answer this question since it was by request anyways? When we got a new printer, the main one that most of us use in the admin building, it came with an 8.5 by 11 paper tray that's only about this big. So you have to replace the paper all the time. So I asked that we get one that's this big, so we don't have to replace the paper all the time and the paper doesn't run out at inconvenient moments, like right when I'm printing something ahead of the board.
When you say big, it's a thickness wise, not.
Correct. We do actually have a full-size plotter for engineering plans, but this is just a larger capacity paper tray for 8.5 by 11 paper.
Okay, thank you.
And it was something I requested because it always ran out of paper at the most inconvenient times.
It makes sense. You're saving money. Replacing the paper, time wise. Moving on, agenda page number 29. This is, Calleguas paid $8,296. This is for Chandler Asset Management Company. My question is, I understand this is a quarterly payment. Is this payment include report itself and also you're there?
Ready.
And also rebalancing the $160 million investment portfolio in the fixed assets. Do they do that as part of this fee we are paying them?
Yes, and it's a monthly fee, not a quarterly fee.
Oh, I thought it said.
So there's a quarterly report out in no, what is it? C? It's like the next one on the consent folder. But yes, they do all the reporting. They give us a monthly report. They give us a quarterly report. It's also for them to be the services of finding the investments, doing the trading. They buy the investments. They'll sell the investments if we ask, but not typically. So yeah, it's all of that. And it's based on our portfolio dollar amount, but they do make sure it's within the guidelines of our investment policy.
Of course.
And so, yes, they will. I want to say as much as possible.
And as far as that rebalancing between different instruments, corporate and agency.
Yes.
Those they're
They
rebalance. Yes.
They don't sell stuff. They buy what's available.
Only when they mature, they come back and rebalance.
Yeah, they will rebalance when it matures.
Okay.
So they always make sure it's within the policy. I mean, we can buy as many federal agency and T-bills as we want. The balancing really goes with the corporate structures, the corporate investments we can make. We always have to keep that to that certain level, percentage level, and they won't go over that.
So how long have we been using Chandler Asset Management?
Maybe
When does the current contract end?
3 years. I don't know if there's necessarily an end to it, but at 5 years, we'll typically do an RFP, which is what we did last time. Yeah, that's how we got Chandler.
Okay. Thank you. That's all on that particular item.
Thank you.
I have two big ticket items I wanted to ask about because I probably have asked about them before, but the franchise tax board, $25 twice a month. What was that for?
So we have to pay the franchise tax board, EDD, that's with taxes, payroll taxes.
Okay.
I think that's the one. EDD is the state taxes, IRS is for the federal taxes. I'd have to go,
On the top of page 21 of the packet, is that what you're asking about? The two $25 ones? Or is there a bigger one somewhere?
Yeah, you had the packet number, page 9 on the actual payment register itself.
I didn't bring it.
Oh, okay.
The small ones for the franchise tax board
Yeah, it's just FTV
are garnishments.
price a month.
Yes.
Okay. All right, that's all I have.
Anyone else have questions on item B?
Just for my own information, page 29, A and B electric meetings and trainings.
Yeah, we have a electrical inspector that's it's a contract electrical inspector. He is currently training our
Oh,
full permanent electrical inspector, the new position the board created,
That's okay.
probably a couple months ago.
Aspen Environmental Services.
That's for the EIR for the Simi Valley Tank Project.
Most of it is. The other,
But
I don't know if all of it is.
CEQA.
So there is for the CEQA for Simi Valley. They're also doing two other projects for us. They developed that Find Your Water Provider map application that we have on our website, and there's hosting fees for that. So we just pay for their hosting fees. And then similarly, they also developed a tool for us to use for annexations. It's kind of similar to that map on the website, but it's for all of our annexation cases. So those two line items are for those two different services, just hosting.
Okay, thanks.
Just one quick question on that same page, which is 29. What is Dragon Media doing for us, making a video for the LA interconnection?
To Charlotte or Jennifer, who wants to handle this one, or Fernando?
Oh, do it then.
Yeah, so we are developing a video to showcase the project that we can show at the community event that we're going to do to thank the community for their patience with us. And so we will also have that we can put on our website. We'd like to start doing that for our large capital projects so that we can really show the community what we've done and how it benefits them. So
Been used, yeah.
exactly. So Dragon is kind of taking the lead on putting that video together with the videography and so on.
Shooting the ribbon tying ceremony.
Yeah, the thinking on exactly how that event's going to shake out is still in progress, but we should be, hopefully by the next board meeting, you think, ready to present to the board exactly how we think that event is going to proceed.
Progress report at that time.
Okay, that's it.
Okay. Okay, any other questions on B? Moving on to C. Approved professional services by All Connected Inc. in the amount of $547,954 to perform network center relocation support services and provide equipment for networking center relocation and administration building storage room addition, project number 620. Yeah, what were your questions on?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Well, based on the report, it appears this is a project long time coming. I'm happy to see that it's coming to implementation stage with IT reliability, security, and also it'll help with the rehabilitation of the Calleguas pump station. There are good things that's going to happen.
Exactly, yes.
Questions I have for you are, is this contract for not to exceed or maximum of 57?
It is a not to exceed contract, and a lot of that is equipment that is included in that budget. And there are services from All Connected that will be supporting the project so we can install that new equipment in the new relocated networking center.
When is the project expected to be completed?
So we just issued the notice to proceed to the contractor, and it's 300 calendar days. So early next year.
early next year. As part of the staff report, you talk about tariffs. There's a clause. That's a good thing because nobody knows what's going on with those tariffs. My question is it just a pass-through or is it markup also on the tariffs? If there's pass-through, if there is a tariff, will there be markup on that?
Yeah, that's a great question. This is uncharted waters we're still swimming through. Our understanding is the tariff will come through, and whatever that difference is from when they put the bid together, what that difference is we would be responsible. I don't anticipate a markup yet, but that is to be
Negotiated.
Exactly.
Yeah, they inserted that clause into their proposal. That clause doesn't override the change order terms of our agreement. So let's say they come to us with a markup, there would be some negotiation and some give and take. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not just a automatic pass through because the language they put in their proposal.
Yeah. Fernando, in the future, it appears to me that if we can come up with a summary of all the capital engineering projects, where maybe with a timeline or with schedules of when it's starting, when it's supposed to be completed, at least for me, it will be very helpful to understand where we are with any given project.
The good news is there is something like that. You just haven't seen it quite yet. There's a quarterly capital projects report. I don't know when it's going to be.
Soon.
Probably in the next agenda pack.
March financial statements today, which means I can start working on the quarterly capital projects through March.
Okay. Yeah. I was thinking maybe when we have an engineering and construction meeting, a committee meeting, maybe that's the time to talk about this type of details.
Yes. So the report that Dan's describing is a little bit more of an overview, although it does have some timeline. At the engineering construction committee meeting, which we are working to schedule here relatively soon, we would go through each project individually, talk about it's what it is and what its status is and what the anticipated schedule is.
Yeah.
I think those two items are likely meet your information needs.
Okay, good. My thought is if I have one sheet, I look at it instead of going through all the write-up, it'll be easier. It'll take less time for me to read everything. Yeah. So it's like a summary. Anyway, we can discuss more in detail about.
Okay, that sounds reasonable.
That's all.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for C?
No.
Okay, moving on to D, receive and affirm quarterly investment report for the district through March 31st, 2025. Director Pacala.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess, Dan, you provide detailed financial reports to the board, which are very thorough. My question to you is, should we do those quarterly, just like our investment report? Is there a benefit doing monthly reports the way you are doing it right now? I'm talking about the financial reports.
I think some of the board members also think it's beneficial to see what's going on a monthly basis.
They do. Okay, if the board.
It's up to the board. It's good practice for the board to be getting the monthly financial statements so you can see kind of where we are against the budget. You can see this, the one's changed a little bit where we're showing a full budget and then where we're at through 9 months for this.
I appreciate that. That helps me to target where to look for, which area I want to look for.
All right.
I have a question on the investment summary as well. It's page 44 on the channel report. And I just wanted to see if these sales that were done on US Treasuries, were these sales, since obviously the disposition yield is different from the target, was this a strategy? Or is there a reason for that was a triggered sale?
And you're talking about the quarterly report, correct?
This is a transaction
Yeah.
ledger and the quarterly, yeah,
Okay, so
channel.
yeah, on this quarterly report, since it's going from January through March, we did have them sell some investments so we could have some additional cash around for the payments from Metropolitan, the $12.5 million. we did have to sell investments in order to get the cash available.
That's what that was. Thank you.
We didn't have to sell a lot, but we had to sell some.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions on D? Okay, I'll look for the motion to approve the remainder of the consent calendar.
I make a motion to approve the remaining.
Okay, we have a first and a second. A roll call, please.
Director Pasala,
Yes.
Director McMillan,
Yes.
Director Robert,
Yes.
Director Quady,
Yes.
Director Avila.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you. Okay, moving on to 6 action items. Public hearing and discussion regarding amendment to ordinance number 15, setting director's compensation. And
Tricia Ferguson, our manager, Human Resources and Risk Management, is going to handle this item. Well, hand it and then hand it off to the board.
So like she said, we've scheduled the public hearing to consider amending Calleguas ordinance 15 to set director compensation in accordance with the California Water Code in our admin code. So I brought back some highlights here from maybe next slide, from our last presentation for you to keep in mind when you're making this decision. In the packet, you have a copy of the draft ordinance up for discussion. The last board stipend increase was in April of 2023. So at this time, under the water code, the board is authorized to approve an increase of up to $10 per day. Currently, the board stipend is set at $230, and you can see where that falls compared to other agencies in these survey results. So I'll hand it over to you guys for discussion.
And then just to provide kind of a guideline, since it does call for a public hearing, we'll open the public hearing, have board discussion, allow for public comment, close the public hearing, and then take a board vote. That's kind of the A to Z of the process. So
Do we take public comment before or after board discussion?
once I open the public hearing, right?
yeah, well, so technically we have opened the public hearing, right? You can have board discussion, you can have public comment at that time where the public can respond to anything that the board said or provide information that it wants the board to consider. Then close the hearing then. So technically now we're open for the public hearing.
At this point, we are opening the public hearing and open to board discussion. Would anyone like to start?
Well, I will. I think it's reasonable for a $10 a day increase, considering we're at the lower end of the spectrum. It's not that big of an increase. And so I think, yeah, keep up with inflation.
Any other comment?
I mean, there's, you kind of have to hit the mark in the middle and not get too far behind. And, it's what's not ideal is when boards don't do an increase for a long period of time and then do a large increase. So, I agree with just keeping up with the times.
Well, it's less than state law. It's less than, I guess, what the requirements are. When I looked at the CPI, if you look at the last 2 years of CPI, actually it's less than the 2-year CPI. From those perspective, I think it's reasonable.
And to add to that, I think we've always been under the regulated amount and behind the CPI, so standard for us.
Dr. Quadini?
My targets are 0 and 5. So
0 and 5. Okay, for myself, I've been looking at this and I've spoken to a couple of the other neighboring agencies and we're pretty far behind them. For myself, I use up all my vacation and all my leave from work to attend these meetings.
Likewise.
And it's still not apples to apples. How about that? And so I do support the $10 increase this time around.
I would agree. I'd do the same. I mean, I'm going to run out of vacation this year, and it's one of the reasons I've missed some meetings throughout the year. So there's that.
what percentage increase is that from 10 on 230? You need a calculation?
It's a 5% increase from the 100 when it was originally passed is what the statute says. So the max every year from the last adjustment is $5 per year since the last adjustment. It's not calculated off the current amount
Oh, I see.
of the stipend.
I think if you're looking at it for just point of reference,
2.3%.
For the CPI.
Oh, if you, yeah, you can do that calculation too. I don't know what that number is.
We're all gonna do math together.
4.3%
4.3%.
over 2 years.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Any more questions or discussion from the board? Okay, at this point, I will open it up for public comment. Do we have members of the public who would wish to speak on this topic?
if any member of the public would like to speak on this item, please use the raise hand feature now. There are no raised hands.
Okay, back to the board, looking for a motion.
We can close the public hearing.
Okay, we can
Yeah.
close the public hearing and back to the board looking for a motion.
I so move.
We have a first. We have a second.
Second.
Yeah, we have a first and a second. Roll call, please.
Director Pacala,
Yes.
Director McMillan,
Yes.
Director Robert,
Yes.
Director Quady,
Yes.
Director Avila.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Tricia. Yeah, 6B, I will be moving it to the end of the meeting after the closed session. We will be moving on to reports. 7A1 is the monthly status report.
Yes, and I and the rest of the staff are pleased to present the 5 highlights per the board's request. I think this is actually a lot of fun to do. So we will start with item number 12, which will be presented by Operations Supervisor Julio Reyes. No?
Oh.
Hello, Julio.
Good afternoon, board members. I can barely see it.
Okay.
Thank you for having me. I'm going to share with you briefly a little on a tour that was provided by, thank you. See that? By Metropolitan Water District. I'd like to give a special thanks to David Preach. He's a manager with Metropolitan Water District, and he organized and facilitated the tour. I especially found him to be insightful and informational, and especially transparent as he shared with us some of the operational hurdles that he and his team have to navigate through in an effort to maintain operations at the West Valley Feeder Unit 2 service area. The attendees of the tour were personnel from Calleguas Water District, as well as personnel from Metropolitan Water District and Las Virgenes Water District. The tour started at the East Portal, which is at the westward terminus of the West Valley Feeder Unit 2 service area. We all started there. The attendees at the tour were able to observe the operations of the Calleguas 1.2 megawatt cogenerator while it was in service. It's still in service. From the East Portal, we traveled eastward into the West Valley Unit 2 service area, where we took a look at the DeSoto line valve. The DeSoto line valve supplements deliveries into the West Valley 2 service area by providing water from the West Valley Unit 1 service area. The deliveries from the West Valley 1 are provided by LADWP, and it takes water from the LADWP DeSoto water storage tank. This valve is critical for Calleguas as well as the other member agencies within the Metropolitan Water District West Valley 2 service area, especially when the Joseph Jensen plant is offline, because when the plant is offline, it's no longer delivering treated water from the Joseph Jensen plant. Speaking of the Jensen plant, that was our next destination in the tour. At the Jensen plant, we met with operations personnel, and they shared with us some of the challenges that they have in treating deliveries from the Joseph Jensen plant into the West Valley 2 service area. So as the operations supervisor, I just found that very, very insightful. And lastly, our final destination was the Greg Avenue Pump Station, which also supplements deliveries into the West Valley 2 service area by conveying treated water that is sourced from the Colorado River Aqueduct. I'd like to conclude, really, I just had a great time by expressing my appreciation to Dave Preach and the other Metropolitan Water District employees who took time out of their busy schedules and were available for the tour. They just provided a lot of insight, and they just made the tour all the more educational and enjoyable. Thank you.
Thank you, Julio.
Thanks.
Our next speaker will be Megan Schneider, our Senior Communications Specialist, who will talk about some of the Earth Day events.
Good afternoon, Board of Directors. So April 22nd was Earth Day, and staff was happy to celebrate by attending 2 different events the week of. So one of those was Amgen's Earth Day event, and that's for Amgen staff. There was over 70 presenters across 21 booths, and they had a really great tree dedication ceremony. This is our 2nd year attending their event, so they invite us. So we're excited to partner with them or attend and have a booth with information there. And then we attended City of Thousand Oaks annual Arbor Earth Day event, and that's a big community event, open to the public, different displays, electric vehicles, educational booths, and it was estimated by the city that there was about 800 to 900 attendees. So a very busy event. We provided WaterWise landscaping information, rebate details. Our poppy seed packets that are branded are very popular. So again, it's always really nice to connect with the community and hear from them. There's been a big interest in water and just people recognizing Calleguas more and more as we're out there in the community more. So that's been very nice as well. And I could answer any questions you may have.
Thanks, Megan.
Thank you.
And our next speaker will be Candace Anderson, who will be talking about some of the career fairs we've been participating in.
Good afternoon, directors. So as part of our workforce development strategy, Calleguas staff recently participated in 5 college career fairs across the county. Members of our engineering, water resources, operations and maintenance, and human resources departments were able to connect with hundreds of students and job seekers about careers in water. We highlighted the ingenuity, stability, conservation efforts, and passion that our employees have for serving our community. Mike Kidd, our control system supervisor, attended the Salute to Success job fair sponsored by Ventura College's Veterans Resource Center, where he shared his unique experiences entering the water industry after his military service. Cesar Romero, one of our senior project managers, attended the Ventura College Career Fair, where he had attended classes before journeying into a water career. We believe that continuing to form partnerships with local educational institutes will increase interest in the water industry, providing a solid workforce for the future. So if you have any questions. Good job, Sarah.
Yes, good.
Very good.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask about 19, 20, 23, and 26, but it's really cool to see that we have examples of that path. But how was the interest, or, what kind of feeling did you all get from discussing with grads? And
surprisingly, we had a lot of interest. We were able to highlight, we had some pamphlets that we were able to print out for the students and community that kind of communicated all of the different jobs. So we had IT students, we had accounting majors, we had lab science majors. We had a huge variety of people who were interested. It's great to have the students come up and look at us and say, well, who are you? What do you do? And we get to share our unique perspective and our experiences in all the different areas. So it kind of opens their mind to really what's out there.
when we discuss these things, do we talk about specifics on salary and benefits and all that?
We do. We do. So one of the things that we do have on some of the pamphlets that we hand out, there is some information on governmentjobs.com and then AWWA where we do advertise, and all of those have the salary information contained. I always encourage the students to look at those kinds of things.
First question after graduation is like, what's my salary range? And so.
That's always what they want to know. And so we would actually sit with them, get on their phones, pull up what they would qualify or what they're majoring in, and kind of look at the different jobs. And they were pleasantly surprised.
Very cool. Thanks.
What are you seeing as far as the majors?
I'm sorry?
What are you seeing as far as the majors? Did you get any?
So information technology, we have a lot of science. We do have a lot of STEM. There was a lot of engineering students at the Ventura College water science classes. A big variety. We did have some art history majors that were looking to possibly get into social media. So we actually had some of our resources staff with us, and they were able to talk about our Instagram account, reaching out to different demographics, which I think pulled a lot of interest in also.
Very cool.
Good. Question. You talked about you refer them to other websites like job, AXUA. Do you also have information about our purveyors? They can also look into purveyors' websites.
That isn't part of the current information that we're doing right now, but we do have a workforce development group with Metropolitan and Ventura County. So with our purveyors, the city of Thousand Oaks was at our last purveyor meeting, the city of Simi Valley. And we're using those meetings to come up with something that will have all that information in one central place.
My thought is Calleguas have a limited number of positions as far as the water.
Yes.
Really interested in water business. There's so many other opportunities within Ventura County.
And we have talked about collaboration with some other water agencies that do even wastewater. All of us kind of getting one of these booths together and sharing all the information to get more interest in our water community.
Work with our purveyors to put on our pamphlet of like, these are our partners in the industry. And so, list of purveyors, other water agencies, basically like a apply here list, like go down and start checking them out.
Yes, that is something that our Water Resources Department has talked about, and I think we're going to start looking into.
Very cool. Last one for me is have we looked into the base and the TAPS classes and things like that for the military members transitioning out of the military?
We do. We were lucky enough at the Salute to Success Job Fair to connect with our Veterans Resources Department at Ventura College. They did have the CVs come out and kind of talk to all of us about how we can extend more opportunities and get more interest from veterans or people who are transitioning out of the military.
Good. SkillBridge is a good one to look into.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Candace.
Okay, now.
Wait, we still have
Two more.
Yes. The next one's me. I'll be fast. So item 58 is about grant funding. And I know the board has asked about this on past MSRs on many occasions about the status of the additional grant funding in Prop 1, Round 1. One of the projects dropped out, and we have been working with DWR since August of 23 to try to get this amendment approved. And they have asked us for so many things, most recently concurrence by our other integrated regional water management regions in the area. The amendment has now been executed to reallocate that $2 million, and $870,000 of it, more or less, is going to the Calleguas LV interconnection. Additional funding was also awarded to projects for United and the city of Ventura. So really excited to have this funding in place. I want to thank Henry Gromlich in his role as WCVC chair, and Jennifer Vasquez, our principal water resource specialist, who I know is watching online, for their assistance in making this happen, because it was a very significant undertaking, but it paid off and it's now concluded and we can all move on.
Incredible. Thank you. Profusely.
And our final highlight tonight is 66 and 67, Matt Gomez, our maintenance supervisor.
System maintenance.
System maintenance supervisor. Thank you.
Good evening. Yeah, I'm here to present the system maintenance, paintings and coatings task force that we're developing. It's going to be crucial to extend the lifespan of our critical infrastructure. We have plans and goals for the future. And we're going to work internally with the IT department to develop a GIS mapping tool to help us for record keeping going forward. But in the meantime, we're going to do it manually. We're going to conduct a condition assessment throughout the whole district. Distribution system, treatment facilities from start to finish. Then we're going to mainly focus on scheduling current painting and coatings projects that we currently have outstanding that have been brought to our attention. And then going forward, this task force is going to develop standard operating procedures. So there's going to be preparation and coding application procedure. That's all going to be written out and presented to staff. We're also going to look into cathodic protection testing. And then we're going to do inspection, pre and post documentation of the jobs that are being performed. So documentation from start to finish. To elaborate on the pictures, the picture to the left is Eric Mesa. He is taking care of an air and vacuum valve cabinet in Simi Valley, applying a coat of paint to that. And there's actually 507 air vac cabinets that we maintain throughout the system. To the right is Andres Andrade in the dark shadow. He's prepping a 30-inch spool piece, a well-distilled pipe in the filter building. So that needed a nice paint and coat. So that was one of our first jobs that performed. So going forward, pictures, documentation, record keeping, hopefully utilizing GIS in the near future.
Actually, this was one I was gonna bring up. I'm glad to see that you guys fixed that corrosion there. And, to go along with some of this, that we're picking up on some of this, preventative and corrective maintenance, targeting a lot of the corrosion. We'll be looking at getting, some NACE certifications for staff, some NACE training. National Association of Corrosion Engineers, 3 levels.
Yeah, we have not, but as part of that program, we talked last board meeting about the cathodic protection side of it, and there is a certification, training and certification component for that protection.
Okay, great.
This will be an internal program that we're just gonna assign staff to, so.
I would look into NACE. You don't need to go to the top level, but the basic level, they show you about, the material science and how to properly clean off rust, how to properly paint, temperatures, dew point, and how to do it so the paint dries and it lasts a long time. I had that certification. I let it lapse some time ago, but it's worth it. And we have other questions from the board on this item. Okay.
Thus concludes our highlights. Thank you.
Okay, that concludes the staff highlights. Now we'll go to the board. Director McMillan? None? Director Quady?
Just 92.
92. Yeah, Tebow?
Yeah, I had a few. Let me just make sure we didn't go over them. Yeah, 30, 31, 35, 42.
I have few questions on our general manager's report and comments. I have the page numbers. They didn't have the numbers there.
Oh, they have numbers. Okay, let's go through the numbers and then we'll.
Okay, go ahead.
Number 92.
AB 810. I guess maybe I've asked this question before, but what is the advantage of having a .gov?
Personally, there is none.
Assemblymember Irwin is proposing this legislation because she believes that it's important for it to be clear when an individual is interacting with a public agency and that it provides credibility and reduces the risk of fraud or confusion. So that's why she's proposing legislation.
Not pseudo sites.
The .gov registries are going to be, or is being maintained and held by the state. So when we go to get our .gov registry, the only place you can get that is through them. So your domain that you're going to have and where you're going to be able to put your information at is being tracked by the state. It's not going to be something that can necessarily be spoofed that way. But it's that, right? It's just like Christine said, so .gov is the kind of showcase that you are a public agency of some format, and that you are serving the public that way.
If this goes forward, is it possible to just take that website and redirect it to ours rather than creating a whole new website?
That's exactly what the processes will be taking place. I mean, obviously, there's a lot more to this, cost wise and stuff there's a decent amount of cost involved because it's not just our website, our Calleguas.com website. It's all of our email addresses. It's all of our internal VPN services that we have, all of our SCADA services that we utilize that are all based off of the same, the Calleguas.com overreaching website. But right, it falls into a whole bunch of different categories that all have to be changed. But so the initial right would be to purchase our new domain so that we have it and we can go ahead and start moving things to it. And all of our existing locations would be redirects to the new website, where it's hosted, the official places it's hosted. But as far as like the actual backend, like our website, it's still going to be hosted by the same provider on the same servers that it's being hosted on currently. It's just going to be, you're going to get to it by a ca.gov link.
Well, and all our public outreach documentation and
one stuff.
Well, she's tried this before.
Yeah.
And she was told, this is a costly proposal. We have to change all of our materials and what have you. And like you said, you have to move a lot of our stuff around and change emails. It's effort.
Have we estimated that cost and impact that we can relay?
The numbers that I have was just for the website and for the majority of our IT infrastructure. And I believe it was like 28,000, so right around 30 grand. It's going to be cost just for that. Yeah. And then something that Charlotte had mentioned too, right? And it was something I always forget about is all of our documentation. So there's still a lot more stuff, all of our brochures, all of our catalogs, all of our business cards, all of that stuff would also need to be updated as well as we go through the process of changing all of that.
I guess the conversation that needs to happen is this is our risk reward kind of ratio of what is the risk versus the cost to everybody. I mean, right? That's a cost that's incurred and spread around. So, yeah.
In previous iterations on this, the California Special Districts was not classified into that. And so we hadn't begun the process of looking into it before because we were going to be escape it basically at that time. And the new amendment has it clearly labeled for special districts to be a part of it as well.
Yeah.
Well,
Charlotte, does CSDA have a position in this?
They're opposed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're definitely opposed. They brought it up at the last VCSTA meeting, and I think I briefed that it was coming back and they're opposed again.
Thank you.
Have we spoken to her or her staff, Charlotte, to figure out why she's so adamant about this one?
No, we haven't, but in public statements, it's as Christine said, President Avila, she is concerned about .gov impersonators, so to speak, and people not really interacting with .govs and perhaps fraudulent activity going on, bill payments going where they shouldn't be going, things of that nature.
I wonder if there's a record of that happening already or.
Well, it would be important for her to understand the impact to all the special districts and maybe a monetary value to understand the cost that she's asking. And, if that cost outweighs the risk, then, that's something to be considered, but it's difficult to have the conversation when we say a lot or very impactful. It's when you have, numbers and.
Special districts already done it work?
I can share with you when I worked at CSDA that they did collect that information and provided it to Assemblymember Irwin. And I think that was part of the reason that special districts were exempted out of that bill. But she did make a point saying that she would be coming back to include special districts, and she's done just that. But I did pass on our cost estimates to CSDA since they are leading the opposition charge. And collecting the information once.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I had one that we hadn't gone over, but can't remember what number it was, but it was AB 523. I want to know what the status of that one was, where we're at.
I can provide the update based on the last update we got from Pakal, if that's helpful.
It was on the list, I just can't find it.
Yeah, it's under item 2 on the first page, actually. And we talked about at least the Met element of that. It has passed out of committee. And
good.
So it did, however, there were some additional amendments. The proxy concept is still what's in there. But there were amendments to add a sunset provision, which would make the bill valid until January 1st of 2030. It would limit the use of a proxy to 6 board meetings per calendar year and specify that proxies cannot be used in committee meetings. So that is the update as of earlier today.
Wow.
Seems very specific.
It is very specific.
And after 5 years, they would have to pass a new bill.
Correct.
Wow. Okay. All right, thank you. Next one is number 30. Which is number.
Oh, the turnkey turf transformation project grant?
Yeah, my question with that is mostly how much involvement have we had from, and out of my curiosity, Oxnard and Port Hueneme? I noticed they were listed there, but I'm just curious to see how much involvement there is across kind of the climate region of our districts.
Yeah, they're very involved. They, along with Simi Valley, those are the 3 that have projects. And basically everybody's priority projects have been included. So at this point, I spoke with IUA last week, and they told me that they're very close to selecting the contractor that would do the work in the Calleguas service area. And we would actually be some of the first projects under this grant to be done. And we're kind of working through, some of them need to take this to the city council and get approval to sign the participation agreement. But at this point, it's getting very close to where they'll have the contractor on board, and each of the 3 cities will start working with that contractor to design their projects and then break ground as soon as they can.
So it's a designated contractor for all the projects?
Yes, I think the way they are looking at doing it is more regional. And since we're sort of at the far end of the general geographic location that the turnkey turf program is being implemented across, it just made sense to have a vendor who was kind of local out here that could do those 3 sites.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, number 31.
So about the drip irrigation workshop?
Yep, Dr. Robert.
Oh, no, I just marked that one down because I want to attend.
Okay.
And that there is, because of that workshop, there's now a drip irrigation system in my backyard. My wife attended the class and installed it in her new garden. And I say she did because she didn't ask much help from me. I came out, I said, look at this, we have a system. So it works.
Great. Did we bill him for that? We should.
Just note that registration is required and there is a link in the monthly status report.
Thank you.
I was just gonna show up.
All right, number 35, Calleguas Las Virgenes Water District Interconnect. Dr. Robert.
I didn't really have a question, just so much as that array.
Yes.
Second that.
I got a few of those.
But yes,
Got a few arrays.
major milestone in terms of completing the project. Obviously, it doesn't mean that everything is done. There's record drawings and a celebratory event to come, but this is a major milestone. This is the official completion of the construction contract.
Do we know how far the event is?
Oh, we're looking at July.
July.
Yeah, that's a question.
Hey, thank you, Fernando.
Agreed.
Should have let you answer that. It's old habits die hard as the former manager of engineering.
It's okay, you might have another chance. Number 42 Oxnard Santa Rosa feeder and Santa Rosa hydro improvements.
Could you just kind of elaborate on that one?
Yeah, absolutely. So this project has been in design for some time now, and right now we decided to take a value engineering approach specifically around the Santa Rosa Hydro. While we evaluate that, we want to complete a portion of the design that's already mostly completed, and it's centers around some surge protections around the OSR feeder. And we determined that it's best to break that out from the greater project, create its own bid package and put it out to bid and into construction. And these improvements are specifically, again, to protect the OSR feeder from surge events.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Thank you, Fernando.
Thank you.
Okay, item A2, March 2025 financial report. Dan Smith.
Excuse me, I have some.
Oh, you have some. Did we miss you?
Oh, we were going to circle back.
Okay, what was your number?
Okay. Well, earlier I said,
Oh, okay.
I didn't have the numbers. When I was looking at item 2, there were so many dots, so I didn't write any numbers.
Okay.
What I did was I just wrote the page numbers, easy to get to right away. So as far as item 7 reports for month of April, page 99 under general manager's report. It's good to see that you and Ian met with purveyors, especially in the northern portions of Calleguas watershed. How was it received by the purveyors that you met with?
They're really interested in, and we actually had that second meeting as well. That meeting was held yesterday. So there's a lot of interest, I think, in seeking an approach that makes sense on a regional basis. So I think, and it was a pleasant surprise. So we had Waterworks, Simi Valley and California Water at the first one. And then yesterday, Simi attended again. And we also had Camarillo, Camarosa and Thousand Oaks. So really got, it's not all of the purveyors, but it's a lot of the larger purveyors. So they're all interested in working collaboratively and creatively towards solutions. And I owe them, as a follow-up, a number of action items, including a draft memorandum of understanding, as well as a draft RFP to seek consultant services.
Okay. I was going to say, if there's a meeting, I would be happy to come and attend and observe, but I guess it's already done.
Those 2 meetings are done. That doesn't mean that won't be, that's the end of the meetings, but that certainly is
Okay.
the first.
Well, glad to hear that they're all interested in participating and coming up with a good plan. That makes sense for the whole area.
Yeah.
Yes. Also on page 99, I guess item 2, I guess. It's about MWD Sepulveda improvements for water supply reliability project. Is it included in MWD 26-28 budget cycle?
Are we talking about the phase 1 of that project of the Sepulveda? That is something that's already in the implementation phase.
It is.
They're using a progressive design build approach on that. I know they were considering possibly breaking it into smaller pieces based on kind of how the initial numbers and design is shaking out. But phase 1 is an approved capital project and has a progressive design build contract underway. Phase 2 is something that will be evaluated via the CAMP framework that's now been adopted.
So it has been approved by Metropolitan Board as far as the project is concerned. That's good news.
Yes.
Yeah. Regarding the water treatment costs, it appears to me that Metropolitan is already implementing or initiated implementation in this 2026-28 budget cycle, correct? When we were looking at the Metropolitan budget, the proposed budget, the treatment costs were stable. They were not going up. That to me tells me that it's keeping it where it is instead of moving forward or increasing the rate for the treated water.
Yeah, their upcoming rates showed a pretty stable treatment surcharge, but this process has recommended some changes to better align the costs with the benefits.
Right.
And that's what was presented to the task force, and that's what will be presented to the FAME committee is what they're called now.
One little look at that, where they were given some of the considerations where they put some of it on the fixed or like 30% or 28%.
Yeah, the idea was to recover some of the costs on a fixed basis to reflect the fact that right now, there's fixed costs, but everything's recovered volumetrically. And the proposal is to allocate some of those costs to a fixed cost.
Well, I guess the bottom line is your outreach and your staff's outreach is helping to keep moving forward with Jackie's help.
They're harping.
There has been a significant effort by a combination of me, Henry, Dan, and Ian to participate actively in this process and make sure that we end up with an outcome that we think is more representative of how costs should be allocated to the beneficiaries.
Very good. Moving on, I guess item number 7 is page 102. Ian is on the video, I guess. Ian met with the VCTA. My question is, was this meeting initiated by Calleguas or the Taxpayer Association?
Ian, I assume you will answer that?
I certainly can.
Thank you.
Yeah, VCTA, David Van Valkenburg, who is a board member, has been tasked, as he put it, by the VCTA by doing a deep dive into Ventura County water. And after I actually ran into him when I was at lunch with Gene West, speaking with another VCTA board member about GMA, and he gave me his card and said, I'd like to come talk to you about Calleguas. So VCTA initiated it.
Okay, good. So I'm happy that they're interested and want to know more about water.
Yeah, and they have come out here before. We did we hosted them here for one of their what was it, the presentations.
Yeah, was it last spring or summer?
Yeah.
Something like that.
They're a good group with good representation.
Yeah, and they've since had a second meeting with Henry. So they're very interested, and they've gotten probably more water information in the last 6 weeks than most people get in a lifetime. But I think it's sinking in. One of the things about the representative that's come out is he seems really reasonable and sincerely interested in learning, which is nice.
That's good. Thank you.
Do we have any other items for the monthly status report? No. Okay, thank you. And thank you, staff. Moving to item 2, March 2025 financial report, Dan Smith.
All right, get my thing. Good evening, directors. Tonight, we're going to talk about the March 2025 financial statements. Going to give you some of the highlights. As you know, for the month of March, we were actually a little bit below our budget for water sales. So we didn't actually gain anything, but overall, we're still selling more water this year than we had budgeted. So the budget's at 53,600 and we're at sales of 56,536. We're currently on pace to probably get around 66 to 67,000, somewhere in that range, or not 76 to 77,000 acre feet total for the year. With us being over in our water sales, you can see that our net revenues are higher than what we had budgeted by almost $1 million, which is what you would expect to see when you're selling more water than you expected. Looking at the admin expenses, we continue to be under budget by $3 million, which is helping our bottom line. So continuing not to spend all our money at this point. And the other thing that's good news is we continue to see an increase in the tax revenue and the interest revenue. We're still beating our budget on those two as well. So that is helping our bottom line as well. Looking at our operating income, because of those pluses with the less spending we've done so far, as well as the increase in the taxes and interest, our operating income is about $5 million in total above, actually that's more like $6.5 million above what we expected at this time. And principal and interest continues to be another plus for us because we refinanced those bonds, those 2010 B bonds. That is actually saving us on the interest side. So that's really been a help when we're looking at our debt service coverage. I'm looking for the month of March. You can see that we were low on our operating revenues, but it was offset, of course, by the savings in the cost of the water because we didn't have to buy it. So overall, with the operating income, we gained about $38,000 of what we expected by the time we got done due to savings from our administrative expenses. Looking at our non-operating, that's where we also had a gain of almost $560,000 because we were expecting to spend more on some of the fees, but we had extra revenue from taxes and insurance, or taxes and the interest. So we were able to cover that, and we actually did better than expected. So overall, for the month, we were expecting to have a negative $978,000 for the month of March, which is not unusual. Typically in the winter months, when the water sales are lower, we do anticipate to spending more than what we actually bring in. But instead, we actually did 367 in the red, which is a net gain of 610,000. So it was actually a pretty productive month overall. Looking at the cash and investment balances, because it was only off by $300,000, our cash and investments stayed pretty much equal, same. Didn't really make much of a change. We're going to look at some of the ratios that we do every month. The current ratio, which is the current assets over current liabilities, is 9.75. It decreased a little from the previous year. The previous month, we had a little bit of extra assets, but the liabilities also increased, which is going to happen as we start selling more water. It's still a very strong ratio. Typically, a good ratio is 1.0. And so we're well above where, typically you would see someone who would be in trouble. We're very solid. Same thing with the quick ratio. The quick ratio is the current assets less the things that aren't as easy to sell, like our inventory and our prepaid expenses, like the water we're holding from Met. That's not something we can go and sell real easy, but it's considered an asset on our balance sheet. So that's still a total of 6.97, and that's still a very good ratio. It should be 1 or higher is considered good. So we're still well above that as well. And our debt ratio is 26.1 when we look at our total debt over our total assets. So we've 26% of our liabilities compared to our assets, which over 50 is considered a good ratio. Looking at our other two big ones that we always look at, especially the debt service coverage, we're still at 2.48. Last month we were at 2.6. Again, falling right now is not a big deal to me. It shouldn't be a big deal to you. We budgeted to come in at 2.05 by the end of the fiscal year, so we are still above what we would expecting at this time. And the times interest earned, which means we can pay our interest that we owe 6 times based on the income that we have. So that's a very strong indicator as well. So overall, we're continuing to look really well on the financial side, and we're continuing to sell water. We did really good in April as well. We had our budget. That's all I have.
Thank you, Dan.
Any questions?
Questions from the board?
No, not from me.
Hey, thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Hey, item 3, water supply update. Jennifer Lancaster.
Right, good evening. I am going to give the water supply update tonight. That is kind of the wrap up of our water year to date, because we are now out of the typical wet period. So we have a pretty good handle on what our water supply looks like for the rest of the water year. So this is more of a kind of a summary level than what I have been presenting. So as usual, starting out with the drought monitor, lower half of the state is still pretty much all in some form of either abnormally dry or up to some level of drought. And the northern part of the state is doing very well. And this is kind of the pattern we've seen all year, that we've got a real big difference between north and south in terms of how we've been receiving our precipitation. So as of May 4th, we're looking at statewide statistics here. We're sitting pretty much right at average for precipitation. We're at 99%. And again, this is just another visualization where you can see the red and the orange in the south is, much lower precipitation compared to average. And as you get into the greens and the blues, that is above average. So it's kind of the pattern we've been seeing so far, and we landed pretty much right on the nose in terms of what an average year looks like. And when we say average, it's a rolling 30-year average. So that's kind of the baseline that we're comparing against. The major reservoir levels are looking great. Again, this is the third year in a row where we've had either near or above average snowpack and precipitation. And so that's contributed to very healthy reservoir levels. So we're doing great there. And then as you can see, we've already hit our peak snowpack, and now we're in that spring melt and runoff period. So now kind of taking it from the statewide level and zooming in just to the Northern Sierra, which is what's important for us for the State Water Project. The Northern Sierra precipitation is sitting at 112%. You can see the current year is definitely above average and also above last year. The snowpack in the Northern Sierra peaked on April 4th at 120% of average. And that's 120% of the April 1st average. Again, that's kind of the benchmark that marks the peak in terms of the snow. And DWR is forecasting a runoff of above average, 121% of normal for the water runoff this year. So this is kind of how the peak snowpack fell out for the entire Sierra. So again, Northern was at 120%. Central got up right below 100%. And then the Southern Sierra was at 86%. So same pattern we've been seeing. So now we'll zoom in real close and look at the Calleguas watershed. I think it's really neat that this website actually does allow you to see that. But this just is kind of indicative of that dry pattern that we've seen in all of Southern California. But overall, we've had only about 47% of average for our area in terms of precipitation. We had a few good storms, but really not much compared to, some of the years where we've seen very big storms. So that is still fine because we've got plenty of water. Met is in a surplus and they can meet all of our demands. So even if we enter into a drier, hotter summer, we're still doing well on our storage supplies. So that is great news. So moving into the 6 to 10 day precipitation outlook, looks like we're slightly leaning to be above normal in terms of precipitation. I checked the 10-day weather forecast and it doesn't look like there's much on the horizon, but you never know. Yesterday it said 0 and I was using my windshield wipers. So kind of never know, but I know we will enter into a bit of a warming period. And then I think we'll cool down after that as well. So maybe in that cool down, we'll see a little bit more of maybe what happened yesterday. So then looking at seasonal, we're looking into the summer now to kind of see, again, we're not really expecting any precipitation in the summertime anyway. So the fact that we sit at 50-50 on if we're above average or below, it's not that consequential at this time of year. But what is more important this time of year is the seasonal temperature outlook. Are we forecasted to have a hotter than usual summer? And the answer is probably yes, which again is going to probably translate to higher demands on water in our service area. So in summary, we saw that Northern Sierra snowpack peak at 120% of average. Statewide, it's at 96%. So this is really cool. It's a third year in a row that we've been near and above average snowpack. And that 3-year span of at or above average has not happened since the year 2000, the 3-year period that ended in 2000. So it's been 25 years since we've seen that pattern. And before that, it was 20 years before that where that pattern had occurred before. So we've been pretty lucky here, and it's really been helpful in terms of bolstering our storage, which is showing up here in Lake Oroville right now, standing at 96% of capacity, which is 120% of the historical average. And right now, Lake Oroville operations are transitioning from the flood control, where they keep a buffer of space in Oroville to help to modulate any risk of flooding downstream. Now, because the big storms have all pretty much passed and it's going to be more runoff, they're transitioning into storage. So they're keeping as much water now in Lake Oroville as possible to get us through the summer and into what may be another dry period. I mean, will be at some point, but whether that's next year or not sure yet. So given that all of this had happened, we had additional precipitation in March, and DWR has now refined their estimate on the spring runoff and raised it up. And we're at really good reservoir levels. So DWR raised the State Water Project Table A allocation up to 50% on April 29th. And we don't expect that they're going to increase it anymore. But at 50%, Met estimates a 180,000 acre foot surplus. But Metropolitan has indicated that they have the ability to handle that whole surplus through their planned actions and their existing programs. And so they are stashing and storing and selling and taking care of all that excess water while it's available so that they can have it as we move forward. And they did say that one of their priorities was stocking up on supplies available to the State Water Project dependent areas. So with that, I can take any questions.
Oh, thank you so much.
Just a comment. Oroville Reservoir is at 96% of the capacity.
As of today.
Very good. Okay.
Yes.
Do you know, did it go to 100% prior to this?
I think it has, and I think that's when that spillway incident happened, like when it got, and then it was coming in really, really fast. And yeah, so I don't think they're expecting like a huge inundation, just because now we're into like more of a moderate runoff.
Control management right now.
Yeah, exactly. So less of that flood control release. Of course, they still have to maintain releases for downstream environmental reasons and so on. But those releases are getting way curtailed compared to what they were a few months ago, where they were just releasing a ton of water to just keep that space.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Robert.
I do have a couple questions. So when considering our 30-year average, are we normalizing against swing events like excess droughts or high rain flows? And because I think I remember the last time we had as much rain as the last couple of years was back in the late 80s, about 30-ish years ago. So if it's a rolling 30-year average, when we get past these events, our averages are going to either go up or down dramatically. Are we topping those extremes so that we get a more consistent average?
No, I think they're taking a straight average. And I think it's really for that very reason that as we're seeing kind of more, variability in terms of how much rain we get or how dry we get, it doesn't make as much sense to compare ourselves to like the 50s and 60s because the regime was really different then. So by doing that 30-year average, it at least encapsulates what's been happening more recently, so that if we compare against a baseline, it's a much more modern baseline. So yeah, and it's not ideal, but it's got to be something. So that's the
just depends on how you want to look at the data and be cognizant of what you're considering. It's just interesting. And then the other question I had was, when we look at the Calleguas service area waterfall, it's interesting to look at that, but we don't store any of the water that I mean, other than that rains in the lake.
Right.
But we don't store that water. That water affects our water consumption, but that's generally it's less and less weighted based off of our conservation efforts. Right? So
Right, yeah.
even though we don't get as much rain, people don't use as much water because of the conservation. And so we get, I guess with conservation, we get more and more detached from that fluctuation.
We do, but I still think and Dan could speak to this more, but we do have significant changes in demand still, even with the conservation based on how dry or how wet we've been. So, but you're exactly right. That is why I look at what's going on in our watershed is really just more of a function of what's the demand.
Yeah, it would be interesting to compare tangency of our demand over wet and dry historical data of our service area and to see how far away we get from it with conservation. But sorry, I'm just nerding out on numbers.
No, it's great. And
I'm very interested in your presentation.
and to your point, when we had the emergency water conservation program and we ended up using the same amount of water as we had been using in the late 70s with a substantially higher population. So that is the efforts of conservation do make a huge difference in terms of the demand.
Yeah, I can't imagine where we'd be if we had the same demand. But yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Do you have other questions from the board? Okay, thank you, Jennifer.
Jennifer, thank you.
Yeah, B, do we have a general counsel's report?
Oh, you skipped.
Skip Charlotte.
Oh,
Federal legislation.
oh, I always skip somebody today. It was Charlotte. All right, federal legislative matters, see the update, Charlotte.
Right. Good evening, President Avila and directors. I do not have any slides for you tonight, but on page 129 of your packet, you will see the 5 bills we are tracking in Congress and have engaged on a few of them. So 3 of them, we've joined coalition letters. 1, we've expressed verbal support to the author. And the 5th, we are still analyzing its impacts. Happy to answer any questions about these bills. It's very early in the process and more to come. But that's what we're doing at the federal level right now in Congress.
And thank you for adding the priority list and an explanation what that means.
You're very welcome.
I like it. Thank you. Do we have questions from the board? Okay.
Great table.
Thank you. I really appreciate the table.
Got it.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. Table is good.
Very nice. Okay, general counsel's report. Do we
Yeah,
have?
just briefly, you all saw the quarterly legal summary for Q1 2025 went out. If there are any questions or anything you'd like to follow up on, please feel free to reach out. Happy to answer any questions. I'll be attending it seems like this one comes around, it seems like so fast twice a year. I'll be attending the Legal Affairs Committee meeting as Calleguas' appointed rep at the Aqua Conference, as well as other groundwater committee meetings and things like that. But I will be at Aqua and attending Legal Affairs. And as you can see from the agenda, we have a closed session for tonight. So I'll wait to tell you all about that one when we go into close.
Thank you. All right. And next up is the board of directors reports. And before we get started on that one, we're going to do a regular 5-minute break.
And committee meeting.
And committee meetings.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for the break, and now we are back at item C1, committee meeting reports. First off would be the Finance Committee. We have a report on the Finance Committee.
I am going to handle the Finance Committee report.
All right.
Today. So we had the Finance Committee yesterday, and at the meeting, we had 4 items on the agenda. First item was to consider a health reimbursement agreement option for board members. So we had the discussion, presented some of the facts out there. We did an analysis and a survey amongst a lot of the purveyors that we had and met purveyors to find out what was out there. We came back with some options that staff is going to take a look at. We were directed to gather more information, develop a budget, and then come back to the board sometime in July. So that was the first item on the agenda. The second one, we discussed the auditor process, the auditor selection process, where staff presented how the auditor's selection process works. We went through the RFP, the process, the interview process, firm selected, and from there, the Finance Committee recommended going with Nigro for the audit. And so next board meeting, we're going to come back to the board for the contract to Nigro.
Special qualification of why it's Nigro.
What's a special qualification?
That we are actually looking at a news.
Oh, yes. So with the addition of the continuation of Nigro, they have, when their proposal, they propose switching the partner and the manager on the audit to give fresh eyes to the audit. So that was part of their proposal.
Most of the actual auditor rotates.
Yes, so the partner and the senior manager on the audit is going to be someone different than the last time. And that was based on recommendations from both GFOA and the State Controller's Office. And GFOA is the National Governmental Financial Officers Association. They're nationwide. And that was their recommendation that they put out there for some practices, as well as State Controller's Office recommends that you switch partners every 6 years. And so we're doing it at the 5-year mark.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's, I didn't want to interrupt you. I'm thinking in my head, but it's a great tactic to have fresh eyes and, remove bias but still maintain understanding of the account and all that.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I carry with me is that the switching of the audits, that's the tone at the top.
Oh, yeah.
That's us being serious about having separate evaluations and cycle of some kind.
Yeah. No, it's great because you maintain that, but then you curb some of the, okay, now we're dealing with someone completely new. We've got to get everything. So you get the best of both worlds and you maintain that.
We don't have to provide the same documents we've already provided this auditor to a new one, find them, get them all documented, get them up to speed.
That's great.
Very interesting. The current auditor really kept the price as it was before.
Right. And I believe that part of that is because they are familiar with us. So they're not going to have to go through that process of learning the district as well and getting all the information, creating their files. And so it saves them time as well.
It's a win-win.
Win-win.
Yeah.
Actually, as long as they're switching the partners and the managers. So we also discussed the extension of the letter of credit. Our 2008 bonds are backed by a letter of credit to make sure that we make payments. And with that, we went out and did another RFP process to find out which banks would bid on it. And through that process, we ended up back with Wells Fargo again, based on their rate and based on the additional costs that are associated with creating a new letter of credit. Since we already have an agreement with Wells Fargo, there was able to save money a little bit, and we were able to retain them as well. And we will also be bringing that back to the board at the next board meeting. And the third item we were discussing was the cost of service study and looking at some fixed revenues. We discussed the fact that in July, starting in July, this next fiscal year, if the budget's approved as is, the district will be going under and doing a cost of service study where we're going to look at all of our rates, including possibly looking at a fixed revenue. So a fixed charge to our purveyors. We're just going to be looking at it. So we're going to take it under advisement. We'll bring it back to the finance committee as well as the board to kind of discuss in further detail. But that won't happen until July sometime after the budget's been approved. And those were the 4 items that were included.
Okay, thank you, Dan. Do we have questions from the board, comments?
I appreciate the thorough summary. I wanted to attend, but I couldn't. So thank you.
Yeah, great summary.
Yeah, it was a good committee. I wanted to talk the whole time, but I know we can only have 2, but it was some good conversation. I think everything I was curious about was covered in the end. And good stuff to come. Thank you, Dan. The next one was the sponsorship committee. Right before this meeting, the committee recommended that we go with staff recommendations to continue sponsoring AWA at manager's discretion up to $13,400 for the fiscal year. And a couple of the other sponsorships that the manager has the discretion to sponsor is the Oxnard Performing Arts sponsorship, native plant sale, up to $2,500. Chamber event sponsorships, assuming 4 Chamber of Commerce events, up to $4,000 for the year. Maven's Notebook, $1,000. Turning Point Foundation, for the Growing Work Celebration and Fall Festival, $1,000. And the Public Policy Institute of California, also $1,000. Any questions or comments from the board?
Yeah, just a question about, so Maven's Notebook, is that something that it is offered free, right? So that anybody can get loop in and study.
Yes, everyone has access to it as a sponsor. We do get some additional access, including an additional weekly update that only goes to sponsors, as well as the ability to access articles that are behind a paywall.
You be able to pipe in on that?
Board should have access to that. If you don't, let me know and we'll make sure to get you access on that Monday update. But also it's just a fantastic resource that really supports the industry.
Yeah, I used to get it just as being on the mailing list, but I don't know that it's at the depth you were talking about. That's the general availability versus what we might get by supporting them.
Yeah, so everyone can get the daily updates. If you're not getting the Monday updates, let me know and I'll reach out to Maven and get added. Do all of you want them and none of you getting them?
I'm not getting it.
I'm not getting it.
Okay, I will take care of that. Thank you for letting me know.
The native plant sponsorship, do we increase that?
No, we kept that at the same level. We did drop some sponsorships for events that we felt weren't as effective. That native plant one in Oxnard is a very well attended
That's what I was
event.
asking, yeah.
So we definitely want to continue to support that.
Yeah, I was just wondering if we needed to increase it, but I guess that's out of committee now, but okay, I'm glad we're maintaining it at least.
Okay. All right, any other questions, comments? All right, moving on to board member reports on ancillary duties. Aqua Region 8 Director.
Okay, so we got a call for candidates since April 21st. And so the candidates have a submittal deadline of June 20th. There's more deadlines out there, but I'll just leave it at that at this point.
Okay. Aqua JPIA.
See the Aqua JPIA schedule. Long report.
AWA representative.
Oh, sorry. I was thinking about VCSDA. I don't have my notes. At the AWA board meeting, they discussed, can we circle back? I'm sorry, I need to find my notes.
Yeah, we'll come back to that one. Fox Canyon GMA.
Yes, on May 9th, GMA has a special board meeting. It's mostly a closed session. They're going to be doing the interviews for their executive officer and also some legal matters. I won't be attending that meeting. It's closed session anyway. Initially, I thought I would attend by remotely. On the same day, I'm going to go with our director, Jackie, on our metropolitan inspection infrastructure tour. I'm looking forward to spending all day with you.
That's right.
From 6 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. So that's what will happen on that day for me. And on April 23rd, I did attend a GMA regular board meeting. At this particular meeting, they discussed about Las Posas Basin Optimization Study Schedule, which is important for our basins here, for the Las Posas groundwater basin especially. And also during this meeting, John Borchard, former GMA board member and currently alternate board member, was awarded a John Flynn Stewardship Award from GMA. Just as a side note, Calleguas was the one who nominated John Borchard for this nomination. It's good that he's a farmer, local farmer. He has done a good job at the board level. Next one is VCEA.
This one is just, currently we're just doing the Foxcan GMA and then we'll circle back to.
Okay.
Regularly at the board meeting. Next one is Metropolitan Water District.
Yes, on April 17th to the 18th, I attended the Delta Construction Authority Board meeting in Sacramento. On April 21st, the Ad hoc Committee on Ag and Tribal Communities via Zoom. And April 23rd, the Southern California Water Dialogue Zoom, which was on storage.
Okay, thank you. One is the Ventura County Regional Energy Alliance.
Yes, there was a regular meeting on May 15th. However, I got an email last night. It's canceled due to lack of agenda items.
Okay. And VCSDA, we have, there hasn't been a VCSDA since the last one.
Circling, did we do last time?
LAFCO, there hasn't not been a board meeting. Circling back to AWA.
Yep. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I did give a couple updates on it.
You can, I can give my updates, and if I miss something, you can fill in.
Okay.
There was a board meeting, they discussed the financials and discussed new AWA members. Mission Hills Community Service District and Vandenberg Village Community Service District. They don't have Association of Water up there, so they're joining AWA, which is great to see more people join. They discussed the annual Water Leadership Award that President Avila had recommended. So they're talking
for the
that.
Frontline Worker Award.
Yeah. That's the Water Operator Appreciation Award. There's also the Water Leadership Award, and then they talked about the Water Symposium that I regretfully could not attend, but it sounds it was very good. And I think that was mostly it. It was mostly board.
Yeah. They also selected a committee to help with the Ronald Reagan event.
Yep.
I volunteered myself for that committee. So I'll be on there for Calleguas.
And they talked about milestone toward modernization, and talked about the new location for May, which is here. And there's a picture of our general manager there right on the top, right on the front.
Yes, we are hosting the May 22nd Waterwise here in this room the morning after our next board meeting. So there will be much moving of tables and chairs. And I will be introducing our speaker, Carrie Buckman, the Environmental Program Manager for Delta Conveyance, who will be providing an update. I also came up with the title, Milestones Towards Modernization.
I knew it had a zing to it.
Yep.
There's our committee chair for CCWC, Wes Richardson. So we talked about that, and it's mostly it.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, moving on to director's list of administrative code reimbursable meetings other than the ancillary duties. Director McMillan.
April 19th, I attended CoLab's annual spring fling in Somas. April 24th, I attended the purveyors meeting. April 25th, I attended the CSDA's financing with flexibility on demand webinar. That was really good. April 30th, the West Ventura County Business Alliance ribbon cutting. May 1st, CSDA Professional Development Committee. May the 6th, the Finance Committee here at headquarters, and tonight's board meeting.
Okay, thank you, Director McMillan. Director Whitey.
Yeah, so for April 17th, the AWA Annual Symposium. 24th, the Purveyor Managers Meeting. 25th, the Southern California Water Coalition with Carla Namath. On the 2nd, Neha Valley Chamber of Commerce with Gorell, Irwin, and Allen. On the 6th, Finance Committee meeting, and tonight's.
Thank you. Director Robert.
Since the last board meeting, on April 21st, I attended the Port Hueneme Water Agency meeting. On the 22nd, I viewed the Metropolitan Subcommittee on Long-Term Regional Planning. On the 29th, Oxnard City Council meeting, and on the 30th, AI chatbot training. On the 1st, the AWA board meeting, and on the 4th, another Oxnard City Council meeting. They're very long. But it's important to be there. And then tonight's board meeting.
Okay, Director Pacala.
Yes, on April 29th, I attended County Board of Supervisors meeting in Ventura, mainly because our general manager and our deputy general manager were going to make a presentation to the board about our risk plan. Unfortunately, it got postponed.
Well, we did speak that day. It just wasn't until 3:30.
I was there for a couple of hours, then I had to leave. So eventually I was able to listen to you remotely. I saw good comments from Supervisor Kelly and Supervisor Parvin, other supervisors about the plan that you presented.
We did have to follow up on a presentation item that was about the mobile spay and neuter unit. And so they had kittens and puppies. We went on at 3:30 in the afternoon after the kittens and puppies. So.
Oh, so you lost everyone.
People were there.
They there, but it may not, we may not have been as charming as our predecessors.
Yeah. So as far as other meetings, I have attended Las Posas Valley PAC meeting, for which Ian is our chair, is a chair for PAC. This is my first meeting of the PAC. Mainly they discussed about the development of groundwater overuse assessment for any groundwater that's pumped beyond their allocations. And they also talked about basin optimization yield study and some of the challenges about some modeling issues. As a matter of fact, Ian included more information about this issue, item 32 in the staff report, page 108. On May 6th, I attended Calleguas Finance Committee meeting. On May 7th, I attended Calleguas Sponsorship Committee meeting. And that's all.
Okay, thank you, Director Pacala. For myself, since the last board meeting, on the 21st, I attended the Simi Valley's City Council meeting. On the 22nd, the Metropolitan Water District Exec Committee and some of the others. On the 23rd, I was here at the district for the Chamber of Commerce Legislative Affairs tour of the district. On the 28th, I completed the AI training. And the the first was the AWA board meeting, finance committee yesterday, and tonight's board meeting. Okay, and next is discussion regarding upcoming meetings to be attended by more board members. Anyone have anything that's not already listed or a regularly occurring meeting?
I plan to attend a GMA TAG meeting on May 20th, most probably remotely. I also plan to attend a PAC meeting on May 15th. And there's a regular GMA board meeting, which is listed on our list.
Thank you, Director Pacala. Anything else for the board? Okay, moving on to requests for future agenda items. Okay, moving on to information items. There was a number of letters that were sent out. Do we want to go over them?
I don't think we need to go over them individually. As you can see, we're very much in the middle of the legislative session, so there's a lot of activity in terms of individual comment letters and support letters, as well as coalition letters. They're all in your packet for your reading and review, but if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them.
Questions from the board? The letters.
It's a lot of work.
It does. Yeah. Incredible.
I just had the Brownlee, that's a continuation of our Washington visit, isn't it? It's the latest status.
I'm sorry.
The Brownlee letter is the continuation of what we at Brownlee with, and
Yes, exactly right, exactly. We just did, she puts it forward again as priority filing. She already has.
because we know it's now not funded, so it has to try it again.
Thank you, Charlotte. Okay, moving on to the closed session. All right, at this point, go ahead and closing the open session. Thank you, everybody. We will be reconvening back after the closed session. Okay, with that, our closed session is over. Direction was given to staff and council on how to proceed with the item. And we are back in open session. One action item remains. A discussion regarding board officer positions. And I want to remind the board that the action item is only to discuss the positions in the agenda, not to discuss any other matters. And let's see. Do we have this on?
Yeah, you want the page of the memo?
Of the
M6B.
action.
Yeah, so well, there isn't a lot of detail. It's on page 97 of the packet.
Okay.
Here's the memo.
What page is that?
7. Okay. And the objective is, in accordance with the administrative code, select the director to serve as vice president and modify other officer assignments as necessary to change in vice president. Do we have members of the board who would like to serve as vice president?
Oh, I have something to share with the board. This is a letter to President. So to the rest of the board, your copies. This is relevant to the item.
Okay. Thank you, Director Grady. First,
Well, usually the board discusses it and then we have public comment.
serve as vice president.
Any experience? If other board members are interested, I'm happy to discuss as well.
That you would be interested in vice president position? Sure. Okay.
I would, I think Director Robert is a great person for the VP position, but I think two individuals from the same work.
Conflict for two people from the same work to be a president, vice president. I don't see it.
I don't perceive it as an actual conflict. I think Director Quady is talking about a potential conflict of interest, but I mean, that could exist with any two board members discussing items, even if they weren't. Basically what I'm saying is I don't think that the being employed at the same location creates a conflict of interest. Whether somebody might be concerned about an apparent conflict of interest, that's something else. But
When I was at Metropolitan Water District, there were 3 of us who served on the Castanet Lake Water Agency board, so.
Oh.
If there is.
The board 3 months ago. I thought maybe in the future we could talk about rotating between ourselves.
Okay.
So that way everybody gets to see other responsibilities. And for that reason, maybe it's not the right time for me.
Do we have a candidate?
Do we go to public comment first?
Yeah.
Okay, does any member of the public wish to speak? Raise your hand. Or do we have any online?
I think everyone who's left is staff.
Okay. All right,
I guess they could speak as members of the public, but.
other positions that need to be adjusted if anybody moves.
okay, so if Director Roberts moving new vice president, do we have interest in secretary?
I think.
Director Powell? Okay, do we have a motion
For the two positions?
for the two positions?
So move.
Second.
Okay, first, second roll call, please.
Director Pacala,
Yes.
Director McMillan,
Yes.
Director Robert,
Yes.
Director Quady,
Aye.
Director Avila.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. Thank you. And with that, we are